In this week's space news, we cover the Axiom 4 crew who just arrived at Axiom Space headquarters for their onboarding process. Our second news story covers Firefly, an expansion of pad facilities including a new European launch site. Our third segment covers iSpace's second lunar landing attempt in December. And finally, the French Space Agency selects Spartan Space to design a future spacesuit. Okay, let's get started. Axiom 4 onboarding. The Axiom 4 crew have now been confirmed. Here's a summary of each crew member for the Axiom 4 mission. Commanding the mission is Commander Peggy Whitson from the USA. She is an accomplished astronaut with extensive experience. Peggy Whitson has set numerous records for women in space, including conducting 10 spacewalks and commanding the ISS, the International Space Station. She is returning for her second commercial mission with Axiom Space, showcasing her leadership and expertise in space operations. Pilot Shubhanshu Shukla from India. Shubhanshu Shukla is an Indian Air Force officer selected as a mission pilot for the Axiom 4 mission to the International Space Station. This mission represents a collaboration between ISRO, that is the Indian Space Agency, NASA and Axiom Space. Shukla has over 2,000 hours of flight time and is part of India's Gaganyaan program. The Gaganyaan program is India's ambitious human spaceflight initiative aimed at demonstrating the country's capability to send astronauts into space. His training in Houston for the Axiom 4 mission involves learning about space operations, survival, and conducting experiments on the ISS, marking a significant step in India's space exploration efforts. Mission Specialist Laszlo Uznaski, and sorry for the pronunciation there. He's from Poland and he's been supported by ESA, the European Space Agency. Uznaski is the first Polish astronaut in over 40 years to go to space, supported by the European Space Agency and the Polish Space Agency. His mission highlights Poland's renewed interest in human spaceflight and international cooperation. In the first stage, the training will take place at Axiom Space, NASA, and SpaceX centers located in the United States. The mission program will primarily focus on experiments developed by representatives of the Polish space sector, including under the supervision of ESA. And finally, we have mission specialist Tibor Kapu from Hungary. Kapu's participation is part of Hungary's HUNOR program, aimed at advancing Hungarian space research and technology. His flight to the International Space Station represents Hungary's commitment to space exploration and the development of its astronaut program. Okay, on to our second news segment. Firefly preparing new launch pads in Virginia and Sweden for its Alpha rocket. Firefly Aerospace currently operates from the Vandenberg Space Force Base for its Alpha rocket launches, as seen with missions like Noise of Summer. It also has a license to use Slick 20 launch pad at Cape Canaveral, but seems to be focusing on other launch pads for the moment. Firefly is looking to expand the number of launch pads it can fly from, both domestically in the US and in Europe, so that it is closer to its European customers. The Virginia launch site. Firefly is setting up the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport on Wallops Island, Virginia. This site will allow Firefly to launch its Alpha rocket, aiming to start operations as early as 2025. This move is part of Firefly's strategy to offer rapid response launch services, with plans to achieve a monthly launch cadence by 2026. The choice of Wallops Island provides Firefly with an East Coast launch option, reducing congestion at its Vandenberg launch pad. Swedish launch site. In addition to its domestic expansion, Firefly has partnered with the Swedish Space Corporation to launch from Esrange Space Center in Sweden, with the first launch expected no earlier than 2026. This international site will cater to the European market and support tactically responsive space missions, potentially enhancing national security capabilities for NATO countries. These developments are part of Firefly's broader strategy to increase its launch frequency and service a wider range of customers, including commercial and national security missions, by leveraging multiple launch sites across different continents. This approach not only diversifies Firefly's operational base, but also positions it to meet the growing demand for responsive space launches. Meanwhile, Firefly continues its operations and development, including preparations for the next Alpha launch, FLTA-006, from Vandenberg Space Force Base. Okay, let's move on to the third news story this week. iSpace sets second moon landing attempt for December. In a post on the X platform, iSpace says, We're excited to announce that Mission 2, featuring the Resilience Lunar Lander and Tenacious Micro Rover, is now planned to launch no earlier than December 2024. Resilience, having completed nearly all testing, will be prepared for shipping in the coming weeks to Cape Canaveral, Florida, from where it will be launched on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. iSpace is a Japanese lunar exploration company, and they have announced a significant update for their Mission 2 during a press conference on Japan's Space Day. The mission, featuring the Resilience Lunar Lander and the Tenacious Micro Rover, is now scheduled for launch no earlier than December 2024, Cape Canaveral, using SpaceX Falcon 9. The Resilience Lander, having completed its assembly and integration, has undergone extensive testing at JAXA's Tsukuba Space Center. The Tenacious rover, developed by iSpace Europe, was integrated into the lander's payload bay in August 2024 after being shipped from Luxembourg. The primary landing site for Mission 2 has been set near the center of Mare Frigoris in the Moon's northern hemisphere, chosen for its operational flexibility and scientific value. This site selection ensures continuous sunlight and good communication visibility with Earth, crucial for the mission's success. iSpace's CTO, Ro Yuji, expressed confidence in the mission, reflecting on lessons learned from Mission 1 and looking forward to this new chapter in lunar exploration. Mission 2 also includes a unique payload, the Moon House, an artistic project by Mikael Jenberg, which will be deployed on the lunar surface by the Tenacious rover. This adds a cultural dimension to the mission, symbolizing the expansion of human creativity into space. Alongside the Moon House, the mission carries various scientific payloads for experiments in food production, radiation measurement, and other lunar research, showcasing a blend of scientific inquiry and artistic expression in space exploration. Okay, on to our final news story this week. Spartan Space selected by the French Space Agency to design future space suits. A young company based in Marseille and founded only 3 years ago has been chosen to lead the design of spacesuits for future European astronauts. The company is already known by ESA because of the EuroHab lunar habitat design, an inflatable structure developed as part of the Tech the Moon program. Europe is involved in the Artemis program that plans on going to the Moon and then on to Mars. New spacesuits are needed in preparation for these manned exploration missions. To carry out this mission, the company is working with the design teams of Decathlon, as well as with the Institute of Space Medicine and Psychology of Toulouse, or MEDES. Spartan Space has experts with deep knowledge of materials suited to extreme environments. The founder, Peter Weiss, himself has over 20 years of experience in extreme environments as head of the space division of COMEX, a part of the French Space Agency and ESA. With his highly experienced team and supported by 10 engineers, the first prototype of the spacesuit has already been designed with a lightweight, body-hugging design that looks more like the equipment worn in science fiction TV series than the spacesuits on the first astronauts. Decathlon is bringing its proven experience in ergonomics and comfort in sports. We provide the life support, says Spartan Space, namely the respiratory system with its CO2 recycling, the thermal environmental device, the energy and communication modules. It is a personal inflatable habitat to ensure the safety of its wearer during critical launch and landing phases. Decathlon is working on materials that are not yet on the market and that were developed for terrestrial applications, but that match perfectly with space applications. MEDES is working on biomonitoring, sensors that will give us information on the state of the astronaut inside our spacesuit. Testing and certification campaigns are being carried out before tackling the real model. 17 astronauts selected at the end of 2022 by ESA. 2 places have already been allocated to them for NASA's Artemis 4 and Artemis 5 missions. We plan to cover Spartan Space in a separate video, and we'll go into their inflatable lunar habitat in that video. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe so you will see upcoming videos. We make videos every week covering the space industry, with an emphasis on the smaller space startups that aren't covered so well on other channels. See you soon.